on to, I think, Kathy, who will talk to us about carrots in more detail. So over to you, Kathy, and I'll mute.
Thank you, Mark. The first question that I would expect someone to ask walking up to me in the plant clinic would be, why grow carrots at all? It's not like they're tomatoes that have their own giant umami payback. You know, to me, growing your own tomatoes is the bomb. You can't get that at the grocery store. But you know, carrots are a bit commodified. Why would you grow them? You may even have in your household vegetable garden skeptics who wonder why you spend so much time growing things you could buy at Safeway. But the way I look at it is I'm always in a dialogue with my vegetable garden about, are you worth the investment I put in? And carrots are one way of affirming that the investment is worth it, because you can plant them so early, plant them in April. Once you get hooked on vegetable gardening, you're always looking for ways that you can extend the season. And carrots are a good way to do that. And another payback is that depending on what variety you select, they can be ready to harvest in as little as 55 days. So you get a little early yield. Particularly if you're trying to get kids or neighbor kids to help you with your garden, being able to show some produce early on can be a big reinforcement. The other payback that you can't get at the grocery store is you can make a great pesto with the carrot foliage. Usually that's hacked off for display and distribution at the grocery store, but you know, just follow any pesto recipe that you like. You might want to leave it in the food processor a little longer, use a little bit more oil so it blends properly, but you can use that as a base for soup. You can extend it into a real pesto sauce, and you can use it as a basis for a salad dressing. So now, okay, once you've gotten over the hurdle of why should I plant carrots, you gotta plant them. The first challenge is that the carrot seeds are incredibly tiny. And so people deal with this in different ways. Sometimes I just scatter a whole bunch in a row and, you know, remind myself to go out and thin them when it's time to do that. Some people actually take a stretch of toilet paper and they put the seeds on the toilet paper, fold the toilet paper over, and then plant that. If you keep the toilet paper moist, then you increase the chances of germination. The other challenge of planting is that you really need to make sure you have loose soil to prevent the carrots from forking or stunting. The picture on the right is an example of what my garden carrots sometimes look like when they dig down a little bit and they hit a rock, and the root continues to grow, but it grows around the rock. It splits because it's encountered the rock. So those are some challenges to think about when you're planting carrots. Could we have the next slide, please? Another reason to plant carrots, in my mind, probably the main reason to do it, is that it's really fun to pick out the varieties. On almost any seed catalog website, you can find crazy looking carrots. The Kyoto Red and the Cosmic Purple are two of my favorites. White Lunar is another one that's offered online at one of the heirloom seed companies. And a few years ago, my nephew challenged me to plant a vegetable garden where everything was the wrong color. So we had green zebra tomatoes, we had purple carrots, we had white pumpkins, and it was really a lot of fun picking out those varieties. And that variety selection process started early in the spring with the carrot selection. When you do decide on a variety, read the package carefully. And especially check for the mature length of the carrot. The shorter carrots are easier to grow because they can go, they don't hit the rock that you forgot to dig out. And in fact, the Virginia Cooperative Extension says that half long carrots, which are classified as 5 to 6 inches in length, are you have your best luck if you stop there. Don't try to grow standard carrots, which are 7 to 9 inches. We can go to the next slide, please. So now that you've planted them, you get to pull them up and eat them. You can tell when they're ready because you'll be able to see the shoulders of carrot just above the surface. And it's always very encouraging that, you know, we've invested time so far and then those shoulders pop up. And if you've planted in loose soil, you can just pull that carrot straight up. But if the carrot is stubborn, rather than risk breaking it, use a garden fork or spade to encourage it to release. And the other thing that I've learned is you have to check often for mature carrots. Sometimes I plant them so early that I forget I did it. And I go back over that plot later on and I see, oh, I forgot to pull up the carrots in this bed. And they're not so great if you let them go too long. They get fibrous and kind of unappealing. So next slide. This is a one-page resource sheet for carrots put out by Virginia Cooperative Extension publication. And with that number, 426422, you'll be able to find it easily online. And I do agree with Mark. We try to stick to the .edu resources because although there's interesting advice elsewhere, if you go to an edu resource, you can be sure that nobody's trying to sell you anything. It's well-researched, fact-based, and you can rely on it. So I hope you'll grow carrots. I will.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. That was great. Nice presentation. Now, did we have any questions to field on that before we move on to Leslie's?
We didn't get any in the chat, but if anyone has any questions about carrots, if you want to unmute yourself and let us hear them, we would be happy to help.
I guess Bugs Bunny is not on this call.
You know, Kathy, one quick thing to mention is just based on my experience that I learned that when harvesting carrots, if it's real wet, you know, the soil will cake to that doesn't damage them, but it can make it pretty messy.
Yeah.
So don't, my lesson learned was don't water the carrots. If you know you're going to be harvesting the carrots, you know, slow down on or stop the watering to make it easier to pull them up without breaking them apart. Because like you said, in pulling carrots, they can snap apart when you pull them up.
And if you do mistakenly harvest them when they're wet, make sure you do it before your spouse comes home. Because the kitchen sink will not look right for a while after you clean up after that.
Yeah, I've learned to have the hose ready. Try to find a spot to get most of it off. And the leafy greens can be quite substantial as well. If you want to cut them off and use them, or cut them off and throw them in the compost.